A Mahayana text. Translated for the first time from the original Sanskrit by Daisaitsuhiro Suzuki. Original edition published in London in 1932. Based upon the Sanskrit edition of Bunyunanja. 1923. You may want to turn off the sound which is for training translators. Chapter 3. 57. At that time again the Blessed One said this to Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva. I will tell you, Mahamati, about the various forms of the will body. Listen well and reflect well within yourself. I will tell you. Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva said. I will, Blessed One, and gave ear to the Blessed One. The Blessed One then said this. There are three kinds of will body, Mahamati. What are the three? They are the will body obtained in the enjoyment of the Samadhi, the will body obtained by recognizing the self-nature of the Dharma, and the will body which is assumed by a Bodhisattva according to the class of beings to be saved and which perfects and achieves without a thought of its own achievement. By realizing the higher stages successively after the first is attained, the yogin will experience them all. Now, Mahamati, what is the will body attained in the enjoyment of the Samadhi? It is this. When the yogin in the third, fourth, fifth stages removes the various discriminations going on in his mind and is at rest, when the waves of consciousness are no more stirred in the mind ocean and the Vijnana functions are quieted, the bliss of which is enjoyed by him. And when he thus recognizes the non-existence of the external world, which is no more than his own mind, he is said to have the will body. Point 2. What is the will body obtained by recognizing the self-nature of the Dharma? When the yogin of the eighth stage has a thoroughgoing penetration into the nature of things which is like Maya and not image-producing, he experiences a revulsion at the seat of consciousness and obtains the Samadhi known as Maya-like and other Samadhis. By entering upon the Samadhis he gains a body which exhibits various powers of self-mastery and supernatural activity, which moves according to his wish as quickly as a flower opens up, which resembles Maya, a dream, and a reflected image, and which is not a product of the elements but has something analogous to what is produced of the elements, which is furnished with all the differences appertaining to the world of forms and yet is able to follow up all the assemblages in the Buddha lands. This is the body which has a thoroughgoing knowledge of the self-nature of the Dharma and for this reason is called will body. Now what is the will body which is born in accordance with the class and which perfects and achieves? When the yogin is thoroughly conversant with all the characteristics of self-realization and its bliss which pervades the teachings of the Buddha, he is said to have the body which is will-made, born with the class, perfecting and achieving. Mahamati, you should exert yourself in order to have a thoroughly penetrating knowledge of these three marks of the will body. So it is said. 1. My Mahayana is neither a vehicle, nor a sound, nor words. It is neither the truth, nor emancipation, nor the realm of imagelessness. 2. Yet the Mahayana is a vehicle on which the Samadhis are carried, leading to various creative activities. The several forms of the will body are adorned with the flowers of the sovereign will. 58. At that time again Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva said this to the Blessed One. The 5 immediacies are preached by the Blessed One. And what are these 5, Blessed One, which being committed by a son or a daughter of a good family cause them to fall into the Avasai hell? The Blessed One replied. Then, Mahamati, listen well and reflect, for I will tell you. Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva said. Certainly, Blessed One, and gave ear to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said thus to him. What are the 5 immediacies? They are the murdering of the mother, of the father, of the Arhat, the breaking up of the brotherhood, and causing the body of the Tathagata to bleed from malice. Now what is meant by the mother of all beings? It is desire which is procreative, going together with joy and anger and upholding all with motherliness. Ignorance representing fatherhood brings about one's rebirth in the 6 villages of the sense world. When there takes place a complete destruction of both roots, fatherhood and motherhood, it is said that mother and father are murdered. When there is a complete extermination of the subordinate group of passions such as anger, etc., which are like an enemy, a venomous rat, the murdering of the arhat is said to take place. What is meant by the breaking up of the brotherhood? When there is a complete fundamental breaking up of the combination of the skandhas whose characteristic mark is a state of mutual dependence among dissimilarities, it is said that the brotherhood is split up. Mahamati, when the body of the 8 Vijnanas, which erroneously recognizes individuality and generality as being outside the mind, which is seen by the ignorant in the form of an external world, is completely extirpated by means of faulty discriminations. That is, by means of the triple emancipation and the non-outflows, and when thus the faulty mentality of the Vijnana Buddha is made to bleed, it is known as an immediacy deed. These Mahamati are the 5 inner immediacies, and when they are experienced by a son or a daughter of a good family, there is an immediacy deed of realization as regards the Dharma. Further, Mahamati, there are 5 external immediacies which I will point out to you, in order that you and other bodhisattvas in the future may thereby be saved from ignorance. What are these 5? They are those immediacies which are described in the canonical texts. And those who commit these crimes can never experience any one of these manifestations, except those transformation Buddhas who are sustained by the power of the Tathagatas and have already attained a realization. The Sravakas of transformation, Mahamati, who are sustained by the sustaining power either of the Bodhisattvas or Tathagatas, may see somebody else practicing deeds of wickedness, and they will repeatedly make great efforts to turn him away from his wickedness and faulty views, and to make him realize the non-reality of wickedness and faulty views by laying down his burden. This is the way I demonstrate facts of the transformation, the sustaining power, and the realization. Mahamati. There is, however, no realization for those who are sheer offenders of the immediacies, except when they come to the recognition of the truth that an external world is nothing but one, the mind itself. Seeing that body, property, and abiding place are discriminations, and that the notion of an ego and its belongings are to be kept away. Or, when they are released from the fault of self-discrimination by encountering a good friend at some time or other, or at any time, and being born in some other path of existence. So it is said. 3. Desire is said to be the mother and ignorance the father. The Vijnana which recognizes an objective world is compared to the Buddha. 4. The secondary group of passions is the arhat, the amassing of the 5 skandhas, the brotherhood. As these are to be destroyed immediately, they are known as immediacy deeds. 59. Again Mahamati said, "Pray tell me, Blessed One, what makes the Buddhas and the Blessed Ones such as they are? That is, what is the Buddha nature of the Buddhas?" 1. Said the Blessed One, when the egolessness of things as well as of persons is understood, when the knowledge of the twofold hindrance is thoroughly taken hold of, when the twofold death is accomplished, and when the twofold group of passions is destroyed, there, Mahamati, is the Buddha nature of the Buddhas and the Blessed Ones. When these teachings are experienced by the Sravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, this is their Buddha nature. So it is said. 5. The twofold egolessness, the twofold group of passions, the twofold hindrance, and the inconceivable transformation death. When these are attained, there is the Tathagata. 60. At that time again, Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva said this to the Blessed One. According to what deeper sense too did you make this announcement before the congregation? That I am all the Buddhas of the past. And that I have gone through many a birth in varieties of forms, being thus at times the kingman, the 3, elephant, parrot, Indra, Vyasa, Sunetra, and other beings in my 100,000 births? Said the Blessed One. There are, according to the deeper sense, 4 kinds of sameness distinguished, Mahamati, and the Tathagatas, Arhats, fully enlightened ones make this assertion. I was thus at that time the Buddha Krakachanda, Kanakmuni, and Kasyapa. What are the four kinds of sameness which are distinguished according to the deeper sense? They are sameness of letters, sameness of words, sameness of teachings, and sameness of the body. According to this fourfold sameness in the deeper sense, the Tathagatas, Arhats, fully enlightened ones make the announcement before the congregation. Now, Mahamati, what is the sameness of letters? It is that my name is spelled Buddha, and these letters are also used for other Buddhas and blessed ones. Mahamati, these letters in their nature are not to be distinguished one from another. Therefore, Mahamati, there is the sameness of letters. Now, Mahamati, what is the sameness of words with regard to the Tathagatas, Arhats, and fully enlightened ones? It is that 64 sounds of the Brahman language are distinguished by me. And these identical 64 sounds of the Brahman language are also uttered by the Tathagatas, Arhats, and fully enlightened ones, and their Kalavinka-like notes are the same with all of us, as we are indistinguishable in this respect. Now, Mahamati, what is the sameness of the body? It is that I and other Tathagatas, Arhats, fully enlightened ones are the same as regards our Dharmakaya and the 32 signs and the 80 minor excellencies of bodily perfection. No distinction existing among us, except that the Tathagatas manifest varieties of forms according to the different dispositions of beings, who are to be disciplined by varieties of means. Now, Mahamati, what is the sameness of the teaching? It is that I as well as the other Tathagatas are all conversant with the teachings belonging to the 37 branches of enlightenment. According to the deeper sense which is concerned with this fourfold sameness, the Tathagatas, Arhats, fully enlightened ones make their announcement before the congregation. So it is said. 6. I am Kasyapa, Krakachanda, and Kanakmuni. This I preach who come out of the sameness for the sake of the sons of the Buddha. 61. Again Mahamati said. It is said by the Blessed One that from the night of the enlightenment till the night of the parinirvana, the Tathagata in the meantime has not uttered even a word, nor will he ever utter. For not speaking is the Buddha speaking. According to what deeper sense is it that not speaking is the Buddha speaking? The Blessed One replied. By reason of two things of the deeper sense, Mahamati, this statement is made. What are the two things? They are the truth of self-realization and an eternally abiding reality. According to these two things of the deeper sense the statement is made by me. Of what deeper sense is the truth of self-realization? What has been realized by the Tathagatas, that is my own realization, in which there is neither decreasing nor increasing. For the realm of self-realization is free from words and discriminations, having nothing to do with dualistic terminology. What is meant by an eternally abiding reality? The ancient road of reality, Mahamati, has been here all the time, like gold, silver, or pearl preserved in the mine, Mahamati. The Dharmadhatu abides forever, whether the Tathagata appears in the world or not. As the Tathagata eternally abides, so does the reason of all things. Reality forever abides, reality keeps its order, like the roads in an ancient city. For instance, Mahamati. A man who is walking in a forest and discovering an ancient city with its orderly streets may enter into the city. And having entered into it, he may have a rest, conduct himself like a citizen, and enjoy all the pleasures accruing therefrom. What do you think, Mahamati? Did this man make the road along which he enters into the city, and also the various things in the city? Mahamati said. No, Blessed One. The Blessed One said. Just so. Mahamati. What has been realized by myself and other Tathagatas is this reality. The eternally abiding reality, the self-regulating reality, the suchness of things, the realness of things, the truth itself. For this reason, Mahamati, it is stated by me that from the night of the Tathagata's enlightenment till the night of his entrance into nirvana, he has not in the meantime uttered, nor ever will utter, one word. So it is said. 7. From the night of enlightenment till that of nirvana, I have not in the meantime made any proclamation whatever. 1. 8. It is on account of the deeper meaning that the eternally abiding reality of self-realization is talked of by me. And between myself and all the other Buddhas, in this respect, there is no distinction whatever. 62. At that time, Mahamati made this request of the Blessed One. Pray tell me, Blessed One, about the being and non-being of all things. And when myself and other Bodhisattva Mahasattvas are freed of the notions of being and non-being, may we quickly attain supreme enlightenment. The Blessed One replied. Then, Mahamati, listen well and reflect well within yourself. I will tell you. Mahamati the Bodhisattva Mahasattva said, Certainly, Blessed One, and gave ear to the Blessed One. Then the Blessed One said, People of this world are dependent on two things. Mahamati, that is, they are dependent on the idea of being and on that of non-being, and they fall into the views whereby they take pleasure either in nihilism or in realism. They imagine emancipation where there is no emancipation. Now, Mahamati, who are the people dependent on the notion of being? It means this that they regard the world as rising from causation which is really existent. And that the actually existing and becoming world does not take its rise from causation which is non-existent. This will not be the case if the world is something non-existing. They thus talk of the really existing world as arising from the reality of causation. This is the realistic view of causation as held by some people. Now, Mahamati, what is meant by being dependent upon the idea of non-being? It means, Mahamati, admitting greed, anger, and folly, and yet discriminating as regards the non-reality of what makes up greed, anger, and folly. And, Mahamati, there is one who does not admit the reality of things because of their being devoid of individual marks. And there is another who, seeing that the Buddhas, Sravakas, and Pratyekabuddhas are free from greed, anger, and folly, because of all things being devoid of individual marks, think that greed, anger, and folly do not exist. Now, Mahamati, who of these is the one doomed to ruin? Said Mahamati. Blessed One, it is he who, admitting greed, anger, and folly, yet refuses to admit them. The Blessed One said. Well said indeed, Mahamati. Again thou hast indeed spoken well, Mahamati. Not only is he himself doomed to ruin because of his notion of greed, anger, and folly as existent and yet as not existent, but he ruins even the character of the Buddha, the Sravaka, and the Pratyekabuddha. Why? Because the passions are not to be taken hold of innerly and outwardly, because they are neither different nor not different. Mahamati, greed, anger, and folly too are not to be taken hold of innerly as well as outwardly. They have no substance of their own and they are not to be admitted. Mahamati, as there is no reality in the nature of greed, anger, and folly, he who fails to understand this is the one who ruins the character of the Buddha, Sravaka, and Pratyekabuddha. The Buddha, Sravaka, and Pratyekabuddha are by nature emancipated as there is in them no cause for being bound and binding. Mahamati, on the other hand, where there is a state of being bound there are the binding and the cause of bondage. And yet there is one who talks thus, that is, denies causation, such is doomed to ruin. Mahamati, this characterizes nihilism and realism.